morning and welcome to another edition of Morning Show, live from the Roadhouse. Once again, we have Mr. Bender, we have myself, Hells Bells, and I am not sure if Stockington is in the house today. So we might have to, I don't know, improvise. Bender, how are you?
Good morning. I am good. I'm good.
That doesn't sound very enthusiastic.
I'm not. I haven't been awake long enough to be enthusiastic, but I'm good.
Oh, that's good. So if you haven't been awake long enough to be enthusiastic, then you also haven't been awake long enough to be grumpy.
This is correct.
This is correct. So this is good. So we have the ability to shape your day.
Well, I have the ability. I guess you do have an influence on that first thing in the morning sometimes.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, all right. Let's get into this. It's Friday. We're heading into a long weekend. The entire market is positioned short, so that's neat. Outside of that, headlines continue to point to monetary policy. Bank of Japan being the latest to come out and make some pretty strong statements. They're not going to mess with their interest rates. They are quintupling down on the fact that they are just not going to do it, that they believe that rising rates are going to hurt the economy more than help. They also have the luxury overall of not having the same degree of inflation inside of their borders that we do in the U.S. and elsewhere. So we have that. There's always been this historical concept that the yen usually ends up becoming a flight to safety during recessionary or global economic pressures. The exact opposite is happening there. Yen is at a multi-decade low. Maybe it can catch a bid, maybe not. But the yen's fall has been the dollar's spike. And that's something that that's just another breadcrumb hanging out there that we need to keep an eye on in order to, just keep ourselves informed, whether or not it's actionable or not. A lot of these factors are becoming more and more questionable, what actually is and is not actionable. But being aware is very important. In major news floating around the market, there really isn't a whole lot. Intel, stepped out and they're not going to be releasing their new Sapphire Rapids on time. That could be a pop for AMD and a drop for Intel. But again, with Intel, you have to continue to wonder at what point do you look at Intel and be like, well, there is value there. When that is, I don't know. Wasn't it 50? Wasn't it 40? Maybe 30 something? Maybe. I don't know. Bender, help us out here, buddy. Tell us where we're at. Tell us where, we should be looking. Let's hear these lines, man. It's like this is a big part of the morning.
Yeah, we are. We tried to cling on to 3,700. Obviously, within the last 15 minutes or so, we dropped below that level made a 10-handle drop, and 3690. It's small bounce coming in here. See what they do with it, but 3,700 is obviously key to start the day here. We've got the 20 MA on the 60-minute comes in at 3684. You got the 10 at 3695. So right now we're just below the 10 and above the 20. We want to see that 20 MA hold if we're playing for, upside. And then above, above the 10 at 36.95, obviously 3,700, and then you got the 50 at 37.28. So I would be looking for above 3,700. I would be looking at 37.28 as being the next level. And then from there, you've got 37.40, kind of the next line above. If we stay below 3,700, and we give up 36.90, then below that, 36.80 is pretty important on my charts. That seems to be level that it needs to hold. If we find ourselves below 3680, we got to start looking at 3600. That's only 80 below. It sounds like a lot, but I know we can get there if they decide to push this thing lower today. And if 3600 gives, then we look at 3588. So those are kind of the levels that I've got marked up on my chart. I think, really anything between about 30. Anything between like 3,700 and 3,680 is kind of tricky. Yeah, if we get below 3,680 with momentum, I'd start targeting 3,600.
I think that's fairly good advice. It's like based on where we're sitting now, and it does seem right now it seems like we're kind of stuck in this little zone to where you could literally flip a coin.
Yeah.
And it's like we know what the pressures on flow is. We know that there continues to be downward pressure. We know that flow was generous enough towards the end of the day to give us a little bit of breathing room coming into the morning. Let's see how that holds. We have Powell babbling about something right now, and I think we have some more data coming out 15 minutes before the open. So there are some pieces there that could give us some additional direction before the open as far as where we're sitting when we do indeed open. Got anything else for us there?
No, I think that's I think those are the levels to watch.
All right. So, all right, getting into some of the flow pieces. Over the past couple of days, we've seen some pretty good activity into both Boeing and Meta, aka Murderverse, aka FacePage, aka Facebook. Boeing has had a pretty decent pre-market last time I looked, and that flow on Meta seems to be kind of building for a longer-term player. So those two are going to be on watch. The other piece that will most certainly be on watch is the travel sector. There's been multiple pieces over the last few weeks as far as travel being red hot and blazing this summer. You had Transportation Secretary come out and basically, have a conversation, if you will, as best as he possibly can with airline executives and travel executives as far as, it's like we need to make sure everything is running well and smoothly. It's lip service, but at the end of the day, it does look as if that sector is going to get is going to be red hot over the summer. They are trading at their lows. We saw some pretty decent bid side puts come in on AAL. We've seen bullish alerts come through on Love, UAL, and DAL. And then, there's a mini through line when it comes to Boeing, but, that flow into Boeing has been pretty solid. Another one to keep watch on is Adobe. If we go back in time, Adobe has always been, at least for me, a bellwether. They reported yesterday. Their earnings for the quarter came in nicely. Nothing spectacular either way, but nicely. And the reason why we can say nicely is everybody's expecting that their quarter results are going to be not so hot. They weren't too bad. Now they did, temper guidance based again on the same messaging that Microsoft put out not too long ago as far as currency pressures. And they also cited Russia-Ukraine conflict. It's gonna be a thing. As long as the dollar is raging red hot, this concept of currency instability or currency pressures is going to be something that these multinationals continue to talk about. And it's something that we have to be aware of. So tracking out the dollar is going to be important. Tracking the dollar against the yen is probably going to be even that much more important, along with watching anything and everything else that we have to watch. Other things that I'll be looking at, I'm looking for flow going into next week and more specifically the following week. Really want to see what type of activity we're getting around SPY, Q, and IWM. It has been absolutely consistent that the whipping boy during this downfall, and when I say whipping boy, it may not has been impacted as severely, but the pressure on the IWM has been the most intense from a flow standpoint as far as whacking it no matter what. even on upside days, the flow coming into IWM is very limited. But man, if there's any type of blood that's anticipated in the street, they are hitting IWM absolutely hard as hell, which makes sense in a lot of ways because in a rising rate environment, those companies within there, those small caps, they can't take those pressures. And I think that there's going to be a real test when it comes to those companies within the IWM and within the Russell, how they're able to handle a rising rate environment. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting as far as watching that. Again, Adobe Flow is going to be important. They had already pre-guided, so it's not as if that their results yesterday should have been like, oh my God, we're so surprised. And they had talked about it several weeks ago. So here we have it. Adobe is, I don't want to say at critical levels, but it's down severely. This is a company that year in, year out prints cash. They're not a spec play. They are a real company that actually prints cash. So watching flow on Adobe, seeing if we get any activity further dated up into the 400s, something like that, or whether or not we're going to get more pressure to the downside. Also, we had a phantom print yesterday on Tesla at 630 when it was like 25, 30 points off of that mark. Lo and behold, the ghost came into play. We came down to 630 and we bounced with a close just under 640. Tesla has, along with Ford and a couple of other of the EV makers, has come out and basically said, hey, we're raising prices. Historically, when companies come out and say that, hey, we're raising prices and we're cutting expenses, which is what effectively they're doing, we get a massive pop in that stock because it's like, obviously those things contribute directly to the bottom line and margin. We're not getting that activity. Right now, the market is positioning any piece of good news in any capacity, even if it is good news, it's like, it's just another shit sandwich. That's how the market is literally digesting any headline that even hints at being positive or there being a silver lining. It's just a big shit sandwich, no matter what. So Tesla flow is also going to be very important as the day progresses and going into next week. These are the things that I'm going to be watching specifically. So to reiterate, Boeing, which I'm already in, Meta, travel sector, Adobe, and Tesla. That's what I'll be watching specifically. AMD also, just to kind of see whether or not there's some divergence there, because usually Intel's loss is AMD's gain. Gonna watch AMD to see how that's kind of working at this level in the 80s. It's like, for fuck's sake, where are we going? When it comes to a company like an AMD that is actually, again, another one of those companies that prints cash. So that kind of summarizes what I'll be looking at there. Stockington had put out, and are you here, Stockington? Are you sleeping again? He's asleep. He put out a couple of things last night. He's watching Netflix, Roku, and Tesla. He has some triggers that he's looking at. I think he's looking at calls on Netflix above 174, puts below 173. Roku calls above 8260, puts below 81. Tesla calls above 641, which makes sense where it's kind of sitting and playing. Puts below 636. With that dark pool at 630 being one of those things that we have to keep a strong eye on. And NVIDIA above 157 calls below 155 puts. So that, in effect, is kind of where we are and what we're looking at. Bender, do you have anything else for us, man?
I think Kramer said this. Kramer said yesterday to be careful and warns against buying stocks until the market slows down. But then I think this morning live he said he was buying. So there's that.
Buying 2 days ago also.
Yeah.
I think
I'm trying to figure out the inverse Kramer play, but I don't even know where he's at because he's flip-flopped 3 times in the last couple of days. So
yeah, no, I think, but I think you're right about that. And it's like, look, Kramer gets a lot of heat, and a lot of it is deserved, and so there's that. But I think right now, I think everybody's just kind of grasping at straws, man. It's like,
yeah.
I really do believe everybody's kind of grasping at straws, figuring out, okay, is this priced in or what are we pricing in? It's like bank flow has been atrocious for 3, 4 months now. It's like awful. Bank flow has been. We're seeing a decoupling from energy stocks and crude. It's like there's so many pressures out there that if we want to talk about what the Fed is doing, what their plan is, and how they're trying to execute it, versus what the consequences of them not doing it properly, which why the fuck should we believe anything that they have to say at this point? We're teetering this line to where you can have an absolute global economic meltdown. And we're not, again, let's separate the market from the economy a little bit. There's this line that's being walked right now that is absolutely dangerous as hell. And right now, Japan is really the only outlier that's sticking to their playbook saying, we're not raising rates. Because if we go back even 6 months ago, Japan was very heavy in saying that we're more worried long term. Japan is more worried about deflation than they are inflation. That has been their talking point for probably the last 20 years. That is their concern. So when you have monetary policy coming in to battle inflation, when going back just pre-pandemic, we were on the problem was deflation. To battle inflation by using interest rates, there is yet to be an absolute through line that can be drawn to that. There is no playbook for this. So then we take that and we're like, okay, so what is fair value? Where should we be scooping? Where should we be buying? It's like, I don't think that anybody can say with a straight face that has been trading, that has a portfolio, that is an investor, that has not added to their portfolio multiple times over the last 60 days. I don't know that anybody can say that with a straight face. So then it becomes, okay, where are we priced in? Do we inverse Kramer? Do we inverse some of these hedge funds that are looking for, 3,300, that are looking for 3,000, that are looking for 2,800? I don't know. I know that until we start getting, so we do know that this guy keeps on, rolling down his puts. It rolled down again heavily into the 350 puts on SPY most recently. We know that this cat has been rolling down ever since we were about at 460. And this cat just keeps on printing cash over and over and over and over again. We need that dude to flip to bull to where he's dropping 15, 20 million to the upside on SPY 400s and calls instead of SPY 450 puts. That is yet to happen. So if we're looking for through lines, if we're looking for areas to where we can watch flow, can we get some bull flow into TECL or TNA? Can we get some massive put flow coming in on SQQQ? Can we get a little bit of activity, kind of pumping into the TLT? It's like, can we? It's like, at what point does that happen? When that does happen, that's going to say we might actually get a sustained rally. But we're not seeing it, and that's not happening. So until that happens, it's like you can still continue to play the upside, but you have to be quick. You have to be very, very precise with your levels. Much like if we go back to the bull market, to where it was like, oh man, you get in trouble with a call, it's like you buy enough time, you're going to be fine because it's going to save you. Right now, it's the same thing. You get in trouble with a put, hey, don't worry about it. It's a matter of time before it comes down and pulls to your level. It's the exact same thing, yet opposite. When you were playing puts in the bull run, you had to operate with absolute precision, and you could do well. Now on the other side, if you're going to play the upside, you have to operate with absolute precision. There is no room for error. And right now, sentiment is so poor, and these news cycles and these headlines are really just now getting to the citizen and to the people on the street that don't pay attention to the market, that don't know that we've been in a downward spill for over a year now. I didn't know that. So here we are. We're here at critical levels. Bender said that if we make any more slip, the gates of hell are going to open. You know, the joke is we all going to be dead, but it's like, how many different times can they fucking kill us? I guess we're going to find out. So with that being said, does anybody in the room have anything to say, add, anything that they believe that we should look at? Bender posting, we got a moo. Is that a $5.6 billion opening and balance?
It was, now it's 6.1.
Oh, neat. Well, that's good. Good. That's great. Again, guys, we're heading into a long weekend. The only thing that I can say is be safe with your monies, be disciplined with your monies, and live to fight another day. Next week is next week. Thank you again for coming on. And your levels, they have proven over and over and over again to be invaluable. So thank you for that. Yeah, we got about 19 minutes until open. Everybody kind of take a deep breath, go through everything, make sure that you have your eyes on the things that you want to have your eyes on. And above all else, operate with your brain and not with emotion. Brain over emotion. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Alice.